Welcome to practice 3 in our interactive notes. Look at our table of contents. Practice 3, we're working on the generating numbers and shape patterns and identifying features of patterns. Pages 37 and 38. Alright, so first we need to put our heading on top of this page. We need to put our name, number, date, first and last in cursive. Remember to put the date that you are working on the notes, not necessarily the date I'm writing down. Put your number and the subject, which is math. Alright, so here is our pattern. It says create a pattern with the following rule. 2 squares, 1 circle, 1 triangle. What will the 25th term be? So we're going to look and see. Let's make this pattern first. Square, so that's 1. Square, 2. Circle, 1 circle, 3. 1 triangle, 4. So that is our unit. That's what's repeating. So if I follow it again, there's 5, 6, 7, 8. If I keep going, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I'm still following the pattern of 2 squares, 1 circle, 1 triangle. If you look, we get the multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12, 16. So the next one will be 20. (17, 18, 19, 20). The next unit will take us up to 24. So 25 should be starting a pattern. So I'm going to predict that it's going to be a square. So square, square, circle, triangle. So 21, 22, 23, 24. And if, there we go. Starting the new pattern, there's 25. So I could have figured it out just from what I had here, going 4, 8, 12, 16. So there's more than one way you can use your logic to figure out what that 25th term will be. The 25th term will be a square. Our next pattern is a number pattern. Create a pattern that starts with 6 with the following rule. Subtract 2 and double. So double means multiply by 2. That's what double means. So I start with 6. I need to subtract 2, which is 4. And then double, which is 8. So my first term is 6, then 8. Okay, let's see what our next one is. So now I start with 8, subtract 2, which is 6, and double, which is 12. Okay, then the next one, 12. Take away 2 is 10. then I double 10, I get 20. Take away 2 is 18. 18 times 2 is 36. Now I could continue following this pattern because this would actually continue forever, but I don't have enough time to do this forever, so I'm going to put my 3 dots for my ellipses to show this pattern continues. But I have created a pattern that follows that rule. So next, identify the rule. So let's see. Circle, rectangle, rhombus. Circle, rectangle, rhombus. It looks like this is what starts repeating. Circle, rectangle, rhombus. Circle, rectangle, rhombus. Circle, rectangle, rhombus. So the unit I have is a circle, a rectangle, and a rhombus or a diamond. Now I'm going to write this rule out in words. So our rule is 1 circle, 1 rectangle, and 1 rhombus. Now, as this is practice, it would be good to pause the video to try the problem first and then check your answer with mine instead of just copying down what I'm doing. Okay, here we have to figure out the rule. It's increasing, so I know it's going to be addition because it's an arithmetic pattern. So if I start with 16, take away 5, I get 11. 27, take away 16, I get 11. 38, take away 27, I get 11. 49, take away 38, I get 11. 60, take away 49, 11. So it looks like my rule is that I added 11 each time. I know it's increasing. My common difference is 11. So since it's increasing, I know it's going to be add. So my rule is add 11. Okay, so let's turn it over and keep looking and generalizing about patterns. Remember to try to figure out what the answer is and then check with me. But you should be trying them on your own first. So we have a 1 dot and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like each row is either increasing by 1 if we look at the top and go down, or if we start at the bottom and go up, it's decreasing by 1. It depends on where you start. So if I start from the top, start from the top and add 1 circle to each row as you go down. Now if you were to start from the bottom, you'd say you'd subtract 1 circle as you go up. So it depends on where you're starting from. So it's important to figure out where the starting point is. when you start going down, well, what do you notice? One thing, it makes a large triangle. So when you add one circle to the next row, it makes a triangle, and something called triangle numbers. I've told you about perfect squares because they make actual squares. Well, these are called triangle numbers because it makes a triangle. First one is 1, and then 1 plus 2 is 3, makes a triangle. Plus 3 more is 6, makes a triangle. Plus 4 is 10, you can make a triangle. Plus 5 is 15. Plus 6 is 21. And it continues. And all those numbers are called triangle numbers because you can make a triangle out of those shapes. Mathematicians, we look for patterns, we come up with rules so that we can make predictions, and we can use those patterns in different ways. All right, so here is our first one, first term, second term, third term. Well, from here to here, it looks like one square was added to each side. And then from here to here, it looks like one square was added to each side. So, how would we word that? We could call these maybe legs, like on an animal or something, a shape. We could call these extensions legs. But each one of them has one block added to each one. So add one block or square to each of the 4 legs. What's happening? Well, it's definitely getting larger, but not just one way or two ways. It's getting larger in all directions. So the shape is getting larger in all directions. So you've done shape patterns. Now we're going to look at number patterns. First we have to figure out our rule. So it's decreasing. That means I'm going to subtract. But what am I going to subtract each time? This one's the easiest one to see. From 55 to 40, I would have had to take away 15. See, 70 take away 15. Well, 70 take away 10 is 60. Take away 5 more is 55. So it is 15. And 40 take away 10 is 30. Take away 5 more is 25. So, yeah. So it looks like our rule is subtract 15. Look what's happening, though. It's alternating between zeros and fives, zeros and fives. Kind of like our rule that we use for multiples of fives, that it has to end in a 0 or 5. Well, that seems to be true for 15 also, if it starts with one of those. The ones place alternates or switches between between 0 and 5. You may have noticed something else. You could say it decreases. Just what do you notice about the pattern? It does not have to be the same as what I notice. There's a lot of possible answers there. All right, this pattern is decreasing, but it looks like it's decreasing pretty quickly, more than subtraction. Because to go from 400 to 200, I'd have to subtract 200. Well, 200 take away 200 is 0, not 100. So it looks like, since it's decreasing, it looks like I'm going to be dividing instead of subtracting. This is not an arithmetic pattern here. And it looks like it's being cut in half, or divided by 2. 400 divided by 2 is 200, divided by 2 is 100. Cut that in half, or divide by 2 is 50. 50 divided by 2 is 25. So it looks like the rule is divide by 2. And what's happening? Well, those numbers are decreasing really, really fast, much faster than up here. When I divide by 2, just in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms, it went from 400 to 25. So the terms the numbers decrease very quickly. It won't be long until they're getting into decimals and fractions at this rate. All right, so that is our practice for generating and identifying and making, noticing different things within patterns for shapes and numbers. So now it's time for you to practice. Thank you for joining me.